And we're back. What's up, everybody? How you doing today? Happy New Year's Eve. I am Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we're back, y'all. Good to see you. Come on in. We've been covering a lot of hard cases where, we find yesterday, the body of Camila Olmos was found. It has been identified today as her, although it's not DNA. Obviously, the DNA hasn't come back or the medical examiner hasn't gotten the official test, but they are saying that Camila Olmos was identified as the body was her and it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. All right, so that was a rough case yesterday. My chat was getting emotional and there was a lot of new people. I want to thank all the new people that came in today. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and get a membership if you can. All right, what's up? Come on in, guys. Let's get hyped up. I got the goal today. We're going easy. I mean, although this is a tough case as well, David is finally going to be facing charges for the death of Celeste Rivas. And I suspect there's literally a gay love triangle suspected as a motive. All right. I didn't put that in the title because I didn't want people just seeing gay and coming in here, but love triangle is what I suspect the motive is in this case and why Celeste Rivas lost her life. So come on in, guys. Let's say hello to everybody again. Happy New Year's Eve. Welcome to the crime crew. I had that up. Cool and Chris 82. Welcome. Everybody else, thank you for being here. Mom, I see you. Love you. Happy New Year's Eve. I hope all of you guys are going to be safe tonight, whatever you're doing. So what's up, Sadie's mama? Big hug. Maggie. My mom says Happy New Year. Val. Love triangle. Absolutely, Val. Freaking-lutely. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're gonna talk about the charges that are coming down in indictment, and we're gonna listen to David talk about the smell in his house after the body, right? The body was left there, etc. And he explains that away. But also, there's a love triangle in the midst, which what I talked about last night. His little friend that you see on the thumbnail. All right, so we're going to get into that. Julie Bug, good to see you. I got your email, but I also have like 100 emails that I haven't got to get to. So I did get it, and thank you. Sandra, good to see you. Kat, always a pleasure. Yes, Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. Come on in. We're going to be here for a while. You know how we do once we get into the case. It's like, whoa, what? Chainsaws and incinerators? And then you're talking about a gay love triangle? What are you talking about, Jay? Well, let's get into it. How about we just get into it? That's the best case. So, listen, guys, TMZ has been the number one source that has gone behind the scenes, gone to court, talked with special prosecutors and a hired PI. All right. So, a lot of the news that's coming is actually coming from TMZ. So, even if you're watching Law and Crime, right? News Nation, any of those all refers back to TMZ. So why not just come right here and then we'll get into everything else. Experts are talking about this case and how the murder charges can come down. What type of murder charges? Is it going to be a conspiracy that he did with someone else? Is he going to just get charges of desecration of a body? What is going to happen? That's what we're talking about today. Thank you for being a member. Cool and Chris, and the $10 super chat. Happy New Year's. Keep being you. I'm so happy to be a member. This is the only membership I have on YouTube because I just love your vibe on your channel. Well, thank you. Cool and Chris, I appreciate you. Happy New Year to you. 2026, y'all. We're getting into it. We've been here for almost 2 years now together as a crime crew family. All right, it's going to get dark as usual on this channel, but it's not going to be heavy like it was yesterday. There's a difference between a dark heavy and just a dark. All right. So that being said, it's a little lighter today on the although David is facing murder charges and Celeste was decapitated. Now they say she wasn't decapitated. Then they say she's frozen, but please say she's not frozen. But TMZ stands by that. So it's weird because it's like TMZ is fighting the news sources. And every time they cite the news sources, it goes back to TMZ. You're going to see that today. We're going to be on a wild David and Celeste ride, just like this, up and down. Pearl, Mama Pearl, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker towards our goal. All right, it's going to be a roller coaster today, and I'm here for it. I'm here to be your host on this roller coaster ride that we're doing. All right, so let's start with this. David likely to be indicted in the Celeste Rivas murder. All right, y'all know who that is. You've already been here. If you don't know all the details, go back to my last few episodes. Singer David will likely face murder charges, and we're going to get into all why, what, when, how for the death of Celeste, which, guys, it's taken a really long time to get here. I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that the grand jury convened secretly. That's what TMZ is saying. They're saying there was a secret grand jury, and grand juries do different things, my friends. Grand juries can just be there to make sure there's enough evidence and then that's it. Or grand juries could be there to make sure that that evidence is going straight to trial. We're going to break that down too, what that means, what the grand jury and a secret grand jury means for this case. And why is it taking so long? Right? Yeah, I don't like that dude's music either, but I'm also 46 years old and I don't feel like a heartbroken teenager. But I want you to remember, this guy is a pedophile as well. So don't forget that. I think sometimes when we cover these or a case like this guy is a straight up singer and a pedophile. He was dating her since she was 12 years old. He's always had the upper hand. And in my opinion, his family knew it. I mean, her family absolutely knew it. And they absolutely got monetary gain for the relationship that they have. Jennifer, good to see you, my friend. I served. I never heard of him till all this. Yeah, well, me either. We're not love-struck teenagers that are, all right, Kathy, thank you so much. You are in the future, and it's already 2026. So let's welcome us to the future. Thank you so much for the super chat. Now I got the dogs in here barking and pieces. All right, let me do this. I'm going to read this to you, but first I'm going to play this so I can get my I don't know why they just locked the baby in here. They didn't lock her, but she came in and they closed the door. All right, let's see. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, never mind. I can do this now. The dog's out. We got Wes. We got Wes. We got freaking Pieces. We got Bowie. Little bad doggies. All right, they're not bad. They're my baby. Super sticker. Boo. Yeah, thank you for the $2.49. And you're in the future as well. So welcome, Jed's a Gypsy. Good to see you. He is an absolute PDF demon. This is getting the bad by the minute. Something has to change, guys. And guess what? We're talking about chainsaw and an incinerator, and it brings me to one thing. It brings me to another case where a superstar child of a rich parent did the same thing. He had excess amount of money. He got a place. He bought an incinerator, and he was literally killing people and putting them in the incinerator. Nobody believed it until they got the incinerator and realized this guy killed somebody, many somebodies, and he has the money to cover it up. That's what I'm saying right here, right now, why it's taking so long. Saucy Skin, CBD, good to see you. All right, listen, here we go. He's going to be indicted for this, in my opinion. The grand jury has come out. We're going to talk about that because the grand jury, that's a hearing. The case will be asked to hand an indictment. Grand juries are multiple things, and that's what they're doing. They're asking, the prosecution is asking that they hand an indictment and arrest David. Now, I think he should also be arrested for the underage relationship if possible. Now, the report was last month that the grand jury was an investigative grand jury and the grand jury that helps authorities gather evidence, but ones that don't indict. So we're now finding out that this is not just an evidence gathering grand jury, but one that will put an indictment on this guy, not expected until February, of course, of next year. All right. It can be useful. The jury can be useful to subpoena and then force uncooperative witnesses to testify. So they actually could have gotten a grand jury together when they did with Stephen Stearns and Jen Soto, and the grand jury could have made her talk. But because we didn't have a trial, Jen got out of all of it. Yeah, I believe he bought her, in my opinion. Now, sources say the grand jury that has been hearing the witnesses in the Celeste Rivas case is actually one that will vote on indictments. Multiple sources tell TMZ that authorities, including prosecutor Beth Silverman, believe David was involved in the death of Rivas. And she's very adamant about that. All right. TMZ broke the story earlier this month about David's day-to-day manager, Robert Morgenroth. He testified for days in the grand jury trial, right? A TMZ reporter heard that his attorney tell his lawyer in the courtroom hallway that he was very pushy and why he didn't call the police. So the prosecutor's asking this guy, right, David's attorney, why didn't you call the police? He said he responded by saying it wasn't his responsibility or his job to make sure David's tour kept going. All right. So it gets pretty hairy. Grand jury generally do what prosecutors want, in no small part because the target in this case for David has no right to present a defense. All right. There was also talk in the courtroom hallway that the grand jury could hear witnesses in February. So don't expect a quick indictment. And that's what I wanted to tell you because I believe it's absolutely coming, guys. And we're going to watch it through. And then we're going to talk about the love triangle and a lot of other things, right? There's a lot of things today. So let's get into that. My computer's being a little bit slow, so bear with me. The weather is a bit wonky. So let's see if I can get this to play. It just likes to spin right now. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Twin mommy, you got to email me, girl. About the gift card. I gave you an actual Visa card, and I'm not sure what the problem is with that, but it's just a Visa, my friend. It's just a Visa. Why is this not playing, guys? Yeah, this is interesting. I don't like, it's not a like interesting. The weather is very janky. I can't get you on my TV. Yeah, the internet's awful, but I've started my computer multiple times already, and I don't understand why nothing wants to play. So let's continue. I'm going to try to get this in. I mean, I could tell the story, but I really want you to see what the legal expert are saying. What is the private eye saying about this? I mean, this private eye goes from TMZ to News Nation to everywhere. It's weird. It's like he's out there trying to push this narrative, and I can't understand why he's doing that. I don't know if it's because he wants him to be, just anything to be prosecuted, which is understandable. I'm still trying to get this to play. Do you think someone else helped the DA? Do you think someone else helped? I absolutely do. I think there are more people involved, and I think that there's absolutely somebody helping the DA. I think there's going to be a second person involved in the case. There's no way he did this by himself when it comes to dropping the body.
Case against singer David is heating up with an indictment expected in the
come on. This is not what I wanted to do.
Weeks in connection with the death of a 14-year-old girl. The decomposing body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in the trunk of David's abandoned Tesla in September.
He is considered a suspect in her death, but has not been charged. That could soon change. Sandra Mitchell live in the KTLA News Center with the latest in the case. Sandra.
Micah, and yes, like I said, guys, and thank you for being here, Naomi. I'm going to get into the love triangle, the gay love triangle today. So I absolutely think that David had help. I think that he dismembered her with maybe another person just because of his sick fantasies. But I think the real motive was his little gay boyfriend and him had this love triangle. Something bad happened and they took her life, and they went to the extent of buying a chainsaw and an incinerator in the rental home. You guys tell me why you need an incinerator or you need a chainsaw to cut up a body that's later found, but you didn't have anything to do with it. The girl was in your car a block down, but you didn't have anything to do with it. Your little boyfriend is there all the time, but he didn't have anything to do with it. I think not, guys.
Private investigator revealing what could be explosive evidence in the case tonight. A chainsaw was found in David's rented Hollywood Hills mansion. And all this now as prosecutors push that grand jury for an indictment.
There you go, guys. Listen up.
Preparing for a possible murder indictment.
Well, it's obviously a very stressful time for the attorney and client.
TMZ reporting tonight that an LA grand jury will be asked to return an indictment which could send singer David to jail for the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
And guys, they don't have any other suspects right now that they're naming out loud. They haven't particularly named him, but the fact that they got a grand jury to go, and it's kind of a secret grand jury because they didn't announce it. We didn't know, kind of like in the Koberger case where they did a secret grand jury. Total Avett bro fan just getting here. I hope he's charged. Well, listen, they found a chainsaw, and that's added to the incinerator that they now have. All right, let's see if we can get this to play again.
KTLA tonight talked to two top defense attorneys not involved in this case.
First things you want to talk about is bail resources. Do you have family members or friends who are willing to put up bail and collateral so that you can remain out of custody while the case is pending? And we're not just talking about a small amount. We're talking about several millions of dollars in collateral.
Prosecutors right now are presenting evidence, which includes items found in David's rented Hollywood Hills home.
Now, remember, this is KTLA 5. This is in Los Angeles / Hollywood Hills area where everybody has money to pay for a way to get out of jail. Free card. We know in Hollywood, there's a ton of pedos. As I tell you, pedos run the world, in my opinion. And many of the people, the grown-ass adults that run Hollywood, love little children. Now, I don't know why, if it's just a power trip and they can't get any more powerful by what they have, but you know what I'm saying? So this is all coming from the news, and TMZ is the one that's feeding a lot of this, which is interesting. This is a case that I haven't, it's interesting how this news source is being fed by TMZ, and then how the private eye is jumping everywhere. Pay attention to that.
Private investigator Steve Fisher told News Nation tonight there was a burn cage incinerator, and
we found a chainsaw, brand new
chainsaw
incinerator. And there's no purpose for a chainsaw to be at this rental house.
Famed defense attorney Mark Geragos.
This is not going to end quickly or easily.
Says even if David is indicted for murder, he has a good chance of being granted bail in LA County.
And guys, I got to tell you, I think he's a flight risk. I think that when we were looking at the timeline originally of Celeste being killed, right, and dismembered, and now we're not sure if she was decapitated or not based on the evidence that LAPD is presenting. I think he's an absolute flight risk, and during the murder he was going back and forth. Around the time he'd hop on a plane and be in France, he'd hop on a plane and be everywhere, and it only takes a matter of hours to go from one country to the next and take your own life if he wanted to, if he doesn't want to spend time. I don't think they should keep him. I don't think they should let him out on bail once he's indicted. I honestly don't. I think he's a huge flight risk.
The argument that will be made is it's a circumstantial case. He has not.
It is very circumstantial, by the way.
There is no risk of flight.
The body of the 14-year-old Hernandez was found in the trunk of David's Tesla in September. It could be several weeks before prosecutors conclude their presentation to the grand jury, but if David is indicted, he could be forced to surrender immediately.
I hope so. He's been out
the
too
LA
long.
County District Attorney's.
Now, listen, I want you guys to remember that this little girl was a little girl that David obsessed over, right? A little girl. He could have at least treated her with enough dignity not to desecrate her body and leave her all decomposed in his trunk just a block away from the house. He could have had the decency to do anything All right. Yeah, the burn box was not open. We're going to get to all that. And they're not giving us information on the chainsaw either, Jay the Italian cook. They're not saying if there's blood on it. I think they might say at one point it's unused, but LAPD is giving us different information. And the reason they're giving us different information, in my opinion, is because they don't want the details to be out there for them to combat. All right. So that's my opinion on that. Let's hop to the next one. We're going to get into a couple things about the chainsaw and the things on the indictment. And then we're going to go into the love triangle and the way he excuses the smell in his house, guys. All right. We're going to hear him excuse the smell. You guys know that if there's a smell of decomposition, that never goes away.
Silence and singer David could soon face murder charges in the death of a teenage girl. That's according to TMZ. We check in now with Branson Quirk in Los Angeles. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing over there?
We're doing well. So let's talk about this case involving David. So 14-year-old Celeste Hernandez was reported missing from her home in April of 2024. Her remains found inside a Tesla registered to David in an impound lot in September. So witnesses have been testifying for a grand jury in the case. What are you guys hearing about a possible indictment?
Right. Well, murder charges are very much looming in this case against.
I mean, he looks dark anyway. And when you listen to his music, and of course, you can't indict someone on that. But when you listen to all the things, in my opinion, he's just hiding in plain sight, guys. He's probably laughing at the prosecutors with his little boyfriend. Like, what are these people doing? They found a body. They found evidence in the house. They went back multiple times. The private eye is handing it to them on a silver platter. All right, Tracy, sorry. Oh, don't ever apologize, girl. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. All right, no, I did not. It's not a screenshot. And please email me. It's not a screenshot. It's the actual card. It's a Visa card, girl. But I can't talk about that right now. So email me. Please email me immediately.
David, and David himself could very well be indicted. Now, we know that a grand jury has been hearing evidence from witnesses for a little bit, and most notably, one of the day-to-day managers of David named Robert Morgenroth. He was the most notable person that we heard about that has been heard from this grand jury, and we're told that while...
So this is actually Fox News. We're going to hop on to TMZ in a minute, but TMZ is the source for all things David right now. It's wild. It's wild times to see Fox covering this with TMZ as their source. So I'm starting to get a little bit more credibility to what they're saying. And I'm checking across Fox, across the local stations, across TMZ, across News Nation to make sure it's all matching up with what they're saying, guys. Coffee and Coffee into Doug's studio. What's up? Happy New Year's Eve to you. And if you're in the future, Happy New Year's 2026, baby. Yeah, it does. It absolutely sounds like some kind of weird ritual. What's up, Shadow? Good to see you, my friend.
He was there. He was very much pushed to answer the question of why he did not call the police when he had noticed that Celeste Rivas had been missing for some time. And we're told by sources that at the courthouse during those several days, his response was essentially that he was not responsible for this, saying that it was not his job and that his job was to continue the tour going. As we know, David was on a massive tour going on. He had to cancel all of those dates. Interscope Records also dropped him from their website very, very quickly. But as of now, we know that this grand jury is an investigative jury that votes on handing down indictments. And we know that the prosecutors do believe that David had something to do with this.
So we're one step closer to having him indicted, guys. And hold on. The reason I say that is because this grand jury is one that hands down indictments. All right. It's not one that collects evidence. They're ready to go. We're already a step or two ahead of what's been happening. Jennifer Soup says, I missed you. I couldn't get on live in a while. Too long. Holly, it's too weird. And now we know there's a love triangle. We're going to get to that after the chainsaw. We're going to get to the love triangle that I believe is the motive. And I have believed that's the motive since day one. I don't think that David wanted to take Celeste's life necessarily. I think he wanted to feel the power of taking somebody's life. I think he wanted to feel the power of cutting up a body and doing all the things that you're not supposed to do that would give you a rush that you can't get from anywhere else, from what you hear from murderers saying and people that are fixated. That's what I think. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Sending so much love to the crime crew. May all your wishes come true. 2026, here we come. PJ, good to see you, my friend. I never heard of him either until this case, but it's very relevant to having a young lady that was being abused. She was 12 years old when she met a much younger David, but much older. He was younger than he is now, but older than her. I think she was 12 and he was 17 at the time, but they were dating for years, and the parents knew, in my opinion.
We'll be asking the grand jury to hand this indictment down.
And we know there was the connection between, the vehicle, that Tesla, but what do we know about the relationship between David and Celeste?
I mean, that's the biggest question right now, and we'll definitely be hearing more during the process of this trial that is most likely ramping up very quickly. This grand jury is going to be hearing witnesses all the way up to February, so you will not be seeing any indictment anytime soon. But in terms of the relationship, I mean, we saw photos of these two. They had met a long time ago, as early as when Celeste Rivas was 12 years old. We know that she was just a couple years older than that when she did pass away. So the relationship is very concerning on top of.
It is concerning on top of it, and I feel like Hollywood is just ignoring that portion of it. LAPD, but we're not going to do that because we're the voice for victims and for children. Please, please, please pay attention to your children, to your grandchildren, because all the children, guys, this is happening every single day. Celeste's parents couldn't stop her from seeing David. They could have done something, but instead they took monetary gain, in my opinion. I've seen transactions that allegedly were given to transactions that were given to her parents. So we'll see. Thank you for the gifted membership, by the way, Foxy and Synth member for 18 months. Long time. Happy New Year's. Played the ABBA song. My wish and my prayers for all of us. Send me a link, my friend. Send me a link. My internet's going slow right now, so it's hard for me to do anything
else we've heard.
All right, let's turn to P. Diddy now. So two of his sons want to share their.
All right, we're not going to P. Diddy. We're going to talk about the chainsaw and then the gay love triangle. All right, let's talk about the chainsaw because that's a fixation that the news is having and I'm having. Why did he purchase a chainsaw, and why is the private eye just now sharing it? They found this out a month ago. What's the deal? Why is this moving so slow?
Every single time TMZ comes out with information about the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case from
that
their
too.
source, Steve Fisher either goes online or goes on a news station to
weird.
do the same exact thing. It's like a competition for attention off of this case between them. It's super weird. A couple of weeks ago, this PI came out and stated that he found a burn cage incinerator in David's Hollywood Hills rental home. It was unopened.
I actually think he was 17 when he met her at 12, but there's a possibility he could be 18. I'd have to go back to my other my playlist with it. There's a lot of details in this case, but what we can't combat is that he's a pedophile, right? I'm never going to combat that. He's a weirdo and he's a pedo, and this has to stop. It cannot be okay just because he has money or just because this is Hollywood. And I feel like the media is kind of making it okay. They're not even talking about the fact that she was 12. All right. Michelle, thank you so much for the Guilty of Crime membership. Please thank her if you got one. Yes. But they're neglecting to even talk about that. Why?
Unused. Well, last night after TMZ shared that their source let them know that David will likely be indicted on charges in the new year, Steve came out and stated that he also found a chainsaw unopened and unused in David's Hollywood Hills rental home in the garage. See what I mean when I say it's odd, the timing of what he's releasing? Like, he made this discovery months ago, yet sat on it. And he wasn't sitting on it to be able to provide more insight and clarity about this item with us, because he definitely didn't. He's clearly being strategic with what he's sharing and when he's sharing it, and it's for his own benefit, not the benefit of this case. Now, we know that Steve Fisher is great for throwing little tidbits of information out, but not providing full context.
Right. And then guys, he goes from panel to panel, which is what we can talk about today because we'll see him in some of those possibly today. I've got a lot for you, and I'm going to gift memberships as soon as we get on to the video where David is excusing the smell of death and we talk about the motive, his little gay boy toy. In my opinion, things got heated, and that's what we're talking about today. David finally is going to face charges for the death of Celeste Rivas via the grand jury coming back. They haven't handed the indictment down yet, but we're looking for that indictment to come down in February. So stay tuned because I'm going to keep on this case, guys. All right. And I wanted to just kind of break the monotony of all the, the children. And while she is a missing, she's now found child. It's not, yesterday was heartbreaking.
I mean, does he even know the full context? We don't know. But now I'm starting to wonder, when were these items purchased? Were they purchased at the same time? And when were these items delivered? And how far apart? Because I hear this stuff, and then I also, just like many of you guys, assume, okay, David was planning to get rid of Celeste's body completely to...
Right. And why did he buy all of those things? You don't need a working incinerator for that. All right. Yeah, David is guilty. I hope TMZ isn't getting ahead of themselves, and that is why I'm cross-referencing and cross-checking the news, what LAPD says, and TMZ. So thank you. I agree with you on that. I definitely have done my homework on this case, and pretty much every case that I work on, I gotta make sure I understand it, know it, learn it, read it, listen to it, and deep dive on it. Right?
Destroy any kind of evidence against him, but he clearly didn't. Why is that? Did both items come relatively close to one another and he didn't know where he was going to do this at? Did one item come much later than the other and he didn't have enough alone time to do this before going on tour? It also makes me wonder if the person who moved David's vehicle was set up by David. David realized that he didn't have enough time to conduct his plan, so he had someone move the car to where it was ultimately parked so that he wasn't incriminating himself. A lot of people, including...
So guys, when you look at the timeline real close, it indicates that just exactly what he said, that he had help while he was establishing his alibi and going on tour and flying back and forth and posting his pictures. He left a digital trail, right? He tried to leave a digital trail of an alibi, but instead he did the opposite, in my opinion. All right.
Myself, for a period of time, believed that it was Neo, his close friend, who drove the car and parked it where it was ultimately found.
And again, Neo, the close friend, is suspected to be the close friend / boyfriend / boy toy / love triangle. All right. Don't understand why it has not been done for reviewing of mine. I know, but they're not even saying anything about it. Positive vibes. They haven't said anything about him dating or sleeping with a minor. And I hope so too. That's why I'm here.
Is that maybe why they're not following each other on social media anymore? Why Neo seems to have distanced himself from David completely? Because he realized that David was possibly trying to set him up as the fall guy in case anything went down. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Now, last month, I shared how David was inactive on Snapchat for the first time since Celeste's body was found in his Tesla. That little green dot, indicative of him being active within the last 24 hours, had disappeared. Well, yesterday, after the news broke that he is likely going to be indicted on charges in 2026.
Now, remember, this was yesterday. Today is December 31st, all right, 2025. And this was 12/30/2025 when the breaking news about the indictment and the grand jury came out. All right. Absolutely seems plausible. And I think they're moving slow because of who he is, right? I mean, listen. This guy that loved Celeste Rivas so much didn't say a word, didn't give a statement. After Celeste's body was found in the trunk of his rented Tesla, a block away from his rental home, he continued to go on tour and act like nothing happened. That is a guilty knowledge action that somebody would do. Instead of making a statement and saying this girl that I was anything, he could say he was good friends with her, whatever. He didn't say shit. He shut his mouth and stopped talking, but he left a digital trail. I agree. I agree. R. Kelly and Aaliyah. All right. I don't think Aaliyah died on accident. Just saying.
That little green dot appeared again on Snapchat, indicating that he was either on Snapchat or investigators were on his Snapchat. Is David possibly communicating with friends about the news that broke yesterday? Is it possible that investigators are trying to see what his friends are messaging him on Snapchat following the news that broke yesterday? I'm not sure, but time will tell. And then lastly, it did recently come out that David's song, What Are You Waiting For, has been removed from the soundtrack of the Madden NFL 26 game. And he's also been removed from the Spilt Milk lineup, which is a popular Australian music, food, and arts festival due to the investigation into him for Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death. What do you guys think about all of this? Let me know in the comments. Make sure that you guys are following me as more updates come out, as information is uncovered. You know that you can find it all here on my page, and
right, he does the best just overall recaps and TMZ, as long as you're cross-checking their stuff to make sure you're good to go. All right, now let's get into David. I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing I just put up. Let's get in. Let me remove that. Let's get into David explaining himself about the smell as we talk about the. Actually, I keep pulling this up on accident. My computer is janky right now. I think it's the internet, but we're gonna I'm gonna gift some memberships here while we're doing this. This is we're gonna listen to David explain the smell away of the body, right? Everybody knows, if you're a detective, if you're an officer, if you ever worked in law enforcement, if you're ever, somebody that was around bodies, right? Okay. There's somebody that's around bodies. They say it's a smell that you can't get rid of. He's going to explain that away. And then at the same time, we're going to talk about little gay boy lover Neo that we think is possibly involved. And he's the person in the love triangle that existed. All right. It must be stinking. Can you imagine? Her body was said to be left for a week or a few weeks in the trunk, but she had been dead for months before. I mean, the timeline is crazy. You need a graphics card, maybe. No, I just got this computer, my friend. This is a brand new computer. It's not my graphics card. It is the internet, 110%. All right, I think it's safe to say Jason the Ween's music career won't be taken off. David has ruined everybody's life, has associated. Yeah, a lot of people are jumping ship with David and anybody that's connected to him or connected in this case. All right. Yeah, that's what I've heard. All right, let's listen to this. And this woman is, I put this in the description to her channel. All right. I'm going to give some membership.
What's up, you guys? It's Layla Lynn, and I'm back with a new video. In this video, I want to talk about David, D4vd, David Anthony Burke, and the suspicious things going on with him being an artist who did a lot of live streaming. There are suspicious situations that have been caught on live stream. A lot has been caught in his Discord. But I want to talk about one in particular where he was caught on live stream explaining the smell in his home.
Now, remember, this is all circumstantial. Even up to this point, it's circumstantial. Right? Thought Criminal says, be careful if you're sick. My husband had a 5-day spin. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm over my sore throat already. But thank you, Thought Criminal. Prayers to your husband. I'm already on the mend. I'm in Alabama. My internet has been acting crazy today as well. I'm in San Jose, California. And just because it's raining outside, the internet doesn't seem to want to work. All right, listen. So those things in the Discord server, those trails, the digital trails that David has left online, you better bet your ass that the jury is going to see that. When the indictment comes down, they're going to see these trails that we're speaking of, all right? Because the biggest trail that he's leaving is one right to his door by the things that he posts, the things that he says, the videos that he's come out with. He's got so many things that he's showed us, and he's, in my opinion, hiding in plain sight. All right, let me gift some memberships. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Get a membership if you can. Make sure your notifications are on. All right.
So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe, click the bell, click the thumbs up button, do all
Also, she is in the description of this video. I always want to give credit where it's due. This is Crime and Context with Layla Lynn. Again, the link is there and her channel. So thank you for that, Miss Lila.
YouTube things to support this channel. I have a couple updates that I want to do regarding this case, but I'm going to do them one by one just to keep everything simplified. And this particular video is on him explaining to a visitor in his home why there is a smell. Now, just for context, the Tesla, from what the neighbors say, sometimes the Tesla was outside, but apparently or allegedly, sometimes it was inside the garage. And so it seems at certain points when it was inside the home, it would smell. It would smell up the home. That's what common sense would tell you, right? If there is a decomposing body in the garage, it's going to smell up the house. And so when we do, you guys know, or some of you may know, you may not know, I do body language analysis and also just language analysis. And one of the important things to keep in mind whenever you're analyzing something that somebody is saying is not to summarize it, not to make sense of it, just to take it flat. What they said is what they said. If it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense. And
guys, my theory is if it doesn't make sense, it's a lie, right? And that's for everything. If you go home and you see your kids and you want to ask them something and they give you an answer, or your husband or your friend, it's a pretty common theme. If what someone's telling you doesn't make sense, it's probably not the truth. All right. Welcome to the Crime Crew. If you got a membership, we appreciate you. If you didn't get a membership, I still appreciate you anyway. All right. Neo, the Asian, aka Neo Langston, and Asia Collins are his two main clingers. Right. And they haven't named names just yet from the grand jury and the indictment, whatever was entered into that, right? LAPD is trying to keep this quiet while the PI and TMZ are coming out with it. So yeah, vultures can tell where there's a dead body from far away. All right, let's get into the juicy stuff. This is the gay boy, in my opinion. And on my cover, I show Neo with David, and David is wearing a shirt that says, it's gay, I'm in. All right. And you'll see he's twerking over there, getting the attention of his boy toy, in my opinion. All right. I'm not oblivious to these kind of relationships. Many people would say, oh no, they're just cool. It's just the age and how they act nowadays. No, he acts gay or bisexual because he is gay or bisexual. You don't lay around with a gay man, right? If you're not doing gay stuff. Just saying. Well, Anita Jones, you're the best, Jay. Thank you. Welcome, Krista64. CM Wilkes. No, it's not. No, it's not what? CM Wilkes. It's not gay to do gay things. All right. Let's go.
Explanation here. It just doesn't make sense. His theory on why his house smells just doesn't make sense. So we're going to look at that. And we're also going to look at the interaction between David and Neo, because I believe they are a couple. This whole situation is a love triangle gone wrong.
Yep. Again, we're going to talk about all of that, but look at he's doing. And guys, if anyone comes to Jay from Guilty of Crime saying I'm throwing shade at anybody that's gay, well, look at the source of who you're talking to. I'm the gayest mother trucker probably. So welcome to the Crime Crew, baby, with Jay from Guilty of Crime. Jay, that's definitely gay. All right, it's KCC. Thank you so much for the $9.99 super sticker. Love you. Yeah, way gay. I'm way gay too. Takes one to know one, right? All right, let's keep going. I've thought this since the beginning, that the motive lies within these two and a jealous love triangle. And Celeste lost her life ultimately over it.
And I'll put a link to the full video on the comments or description box in this video. You know how I want you guys first to notice how David's little fake twerking is not getting the attention of the girls. It only gets Neo's attention. You see how Neo's the only one turned around? Neo's the only one in that area, in that bathroom, sexually attracted to David, first of all.
Did you guys know that me and David are actually related?
My second cousin.
Yeah.
Me and Asia go to like the same family functions, like
Let me turn it
go on
up.
road trips, like she's in the backseat type. Low key,
Backseat.
I'll be there too, bro. I'm driving. You're
So that little conversation about the backseat, you know, there's
Now it gets loud back and forth. So I'm gonna try to put the things on the screen. I think now he probably set up. Yeah, here's the thing: is CM. I absolutely think that he would set up Neo to get him off of the hook. However, I absolutely think Neo was involved. No, I'm not. Consider the source. Right? It gets low back and forth. So I'm gonna try to do my best here on this and
first of all,
put the words up.
Did you guys know that me and David are actually related?
my second cousin.
Oh, interesting.
Me and Asia go to like the same family functions, like we go on road trips, like she's in the backseat type. Low key,
Backseat.
I'll be there too, bro. I'm driving.
And he literally just said the backseat bra, and Neo got a little jealous, in my opinion. Is like, I'll be there too. Like I said, guys, a love triangle. He's wearing a shirt that says I love boobs, but he's showing the complete opposite. And these girls ain't for him. These are just little girls hanging around, little groupie chicks, in my opinion. I don't know who these girls are, but gay all day right here. And this guy's getting jealous. I'll be there too. All right, you little fuck boy.
So that little conversation about the backseat, you know, there's this whatever you would call it, this theme of being the backseat of someone's car, it implies something sexual. And you heard Neil say, low key, I would be there too. Because there's a sexual relationship between him and David. And when I say that, when I sound judgmental about the sexual relationship between Neo and David, it's not because it's same sex. It's because I believe it resulted in the death of Celeste.
Yep.
All right. I hope y'all understand that.
Yeah, I don't give two shits, guys, but I do know that the gay community, especially with two males, guys, I'm 46 years old. I've been around all communities that are gay, and two gay guys that get in a fight, it's not the same thing as two females or two. There's a lot of testosterone going on. Hence why there's a bunch of gay sex like male clubs. There's a lot of testosterone going all up in there, and I think the testosterone got a little out of control. Graciela, thank you for becoming a member again. Happy New Year, my friend. You are in the future.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see her driving. I was like, there's no driving there. Yeah.
He was a fairy. Yeah.
He was a fairy, she said.
I have to take one piss before we leave. Is that David? No. Who's that? Let me know when I call her. What was that reaction? No. Oh, dude, it's so passionate. Okay, rap.
Your rapper name? JD. JD's good. That's
He's singing, Neo is singing some song.
Wrote this down.
And the lyrics are scared, so I pretend that I don't love you like I do.
I mean, it's right out in the open, and I think it wouldn't really matter had Celeste Rivas not lost her life in that manner, had not been murdered in that manner. I should never say lost her life, because somebody methodically took her life and then dismembered her, whether she was decapitated or not. She was dismembered. Neo could have done this on his own to set. I think there were two people involved, though, in the car. Now, it could have been a setup, but I believe there has to be one more person involved in the way that they set this thing up, and in the way that, yeah, they're all really immature. They all act like middle school, and that's why I didn't know about the music. All right, let's keep going. I don't know where Neo is from, actually. I'm not quite sure. So the media is now saying David's gay, or is it a made-up rumor that the media... It's not a made-up rumor, Marie Joy, at all. We're talking about his relationship with Neo And I'm pretty sure he's openly bisexual. I don't think that it's a rumor or a made up thing. I absolutely have, from day one, have believed that David and Neo have had a sexual relationship by their own accord. Do I care? No.
Why is Keanu Reeves singing?
So listen, here's all I care about. Why it matters that they had a sexual relationship is because three's a crowd. And I believe that Celeste Rivas ended up in the condition she was due to a love triangle. I could give two shits about if the love triangle is between three people, two men, one woman, or they want to involve whatever. They, them, I don't care. But had she not ended up in the trunk of his car, dismembered, they could live happily ever after for all I care.
I guess I can't. Well, I can try. You know, oil farming low key. Am I? I got water. Got water. That's not water.
What is that? Vodka?
So you notice the girl in the back. I believe that's Sakura. I'm not sure if she's an artist or a streamer, but you know how she keeps going to like the back of the bathroom, like where the toilet is. Looks like she has some type of sinus problem. She keeps wiping her nose, and it seems like it's making David nervous. So I'm guessing the way the house is set up, the garage is probably somewhat near to that bathroom.
Interesting. There's water. We filled it up with water.
Those are mine. Those are mine. Wait, so that's water.
So that Celeste that they refer to is Celeste Herrera, allegedly Celeste Herrera, and they're trying to keep her off the stream. I think it's because she has on a bikini top, and sometimes with these streams, like they get shut down if you look.
I was absolutely thinking the same thing. No shade. I think she absolutely was back there doing coke in his bathroom. I think they were all doing drugs. I mean, that's what they do, right? That's what a lot of these Hollywood folks do. And I think that David just has, from a young age, he got his, started was, I think it was on social media or YouTube. And he could do anything he wants. So what he wants to do, we see in the videos. We hear about the chopping up and the chainsaws and the bloody shirts. We see what he wants. Graciela J for president, baby, 2026. All right, why are they in the bathroom? I think she was in the bathroom just doing lines, honestly, off the back of the toilet and then blowing her nose. Hey, y'all, I'm late. Triangle, Neo, Celeste, and David. Yes, love triangle, Neo, Celeste, and David. Absolutely. Welcome. Good to see you, Bondage Barb.
Too provocative. So I think that's why they're trying to keep her off the stream. But it also just brings back, that how they used to keep the real Celeste, off camera. It's just really weird. It's like one Celeste replacing another. Really weird.
That is weird too. He has
and the only people they
Celeste.
explain the smell to, the only person they explain the smell to is this girl Sakura. It's like the other two girls already know why it stinks. So it just makes you wonder.
I do think that right when they came in, he used some, cockamamie excuse about, oh yeah, this house is backed up. I took a giant shit, just to tell him whatever. And that's basically what he says. Oh, I took a giant shit. But he probably already told the other people in. But I'm telling you, the only thing that really makes sense about this is that there was more than one person involved, and that David is telling us what he's telling us right in front of our face, what we need to see. And we're just looking at it like, nah, there's no way somebody could be that blatant about what they did and just wide open.
How many people knew or were involved in the unaliving of Celeste?
I think two, at least.
You got drugs?
She said it's her Dayquil. You could see she was having some type of sinus problem.
Yeah, I bet she's having sinus problems.
You put. Fuck you, bro. I'm looking at your packing, bro. Go fuck yourself. I don't even get paid, guys. I'm not even getting paid for this.
It sounded like he said, I'm low-key your packy. Like David said, I have a lot of drugs in there. And she said, I thought it was Neo's drugs. And he said, F you, I'm low-key your packy.
And guys, it's hard to understand their language if you're not into that, right? And I'm pretty sure that he's the one that holds the coke and the things he was saying, oh, that's mine. right? I think he's the guy that travels with them and takes the falls for whatever, right? Oh, that's mine. Yeah, sinus problems. Yeah, she has coke sinus problem. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to give you the real lowdown, especially if you're there in Hollywood, California, the lovely city of Hollywood, California. Make sure I didn't miss anything. You guys let me know if you do a super chat or super sticker and I miss something, please let me know.
Don't get paid for it. And they did say that, you know, there were prescription bottles found in the home.
Prescription coke? Really? He took a shit in the bathroom. That's why. I don't think so, guys. I don't think a shit is going to be equivalent.
So I want to apologize for the way my bathroom smells.
I want to apologize for how my bathroom smells. I took a shit. I'm telling you right now, that body was starting to give a real foul. Sorry, my computer is being crazy slow, so I'm trying to get these loaded for you before I start and make you guys just watch my computer spin. So I never like for you guys to have to sit there and watch me get ready and be like, oh, sorry, What's up, Curly Blue? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Everybody else, what's up? Come on. If you're tired, you're not anymore because you're with Jay from Guilty of Crime, and I have plenty of energy to give y'all, all right? Without Coca-Cola. Mine are Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings, my friends. Mwah. Love y'all. All right, what? I got my CBD prescription, but not sure they'll give me any Coca-Cola, right? I've never seen a Coca-Cola prescription. I believe that. And they're saying she wasn't completely frozen, but I do absolutely believe that the body was kept in cold temperature to preserve the body for the months that it was there. I showed my mom's David's romantic homicide video where he kills a woman, and my mom was like, he can't sing. She missed the point. That's so funny, man. So funny. All right, let's keep going.
Well, I just took a shit in there like 2 hours ago. Now, really, if someone had just used their bathroom, like 2 hours is a long time. It's not going to stink 2 hours later. If you use your bathroom, it's not going to stink 2 hours later. So what he's saying does not make sense.
Not at all.
It doesn't make sense. But I feel like he's explaining the smell in his home because this particular woman does not normally visit his home. And so his theory doesn't make sense, but everyone around him just kind of seems to go with the flow. So she's like, oh, I just use the bathroom too. Don't worry.
Now, typically, guys, these are like club kids, what you'd call club kids back in the day. You know, they wear the little binkies and they're always high, rolling on Molly and doing coke and drinking. Except the only difference is you add a couple $1 million at your disposal, a $20 million mansion, freaking any kind of Tesla you want, $180,000 Tesla, and you leave a body in it. What? That's all I got to say about that. If I had the type of money David has, I assure you, I'd be doing much better things with my time. So, universe, if you ever want to bless me with that amount of money, I'll do good. I promise. What's up, Wyatt, my buddy? Good to see you. Under your scars, always a pleasure. All right. And I actually am getting over a cold. No coke involved. I love you guys
out there. Like Neo is looking like he's so offended about them talking about, you know, using the bathroom and things like that. But allegedly, there are so many fingers pointing at Neo, helping to dismember Celeste. So it's just like fake and phony.
Right. True.
Like, in my opinion, both Neo and David like gore.
Yep.
And when I say that, I had to do some research regarding, you know, covering this particular case. And that's when I discovered, you know, this is not something I would normally know. So it's probably something you don't know either. But there are people who enjoy gore and it is sexual.
Yeah, bondage.
They enjoy like unalive.
Where's my bondage girl? That's way different. The whole bondage scene is much different than somebody wanting to have sex with a corpse, right? Or what have you, pretend to be a corpse. Don't move, don't breathe, just pretend like you're not even alive, right? There's that type of thing too. I believe they were into all of the above. That whole scene looks like it would smell of hot piss and sin, and I agree with you on that. With those little club kids just doing all the DRUGs they want, and whoever was helping was definitely pooping and vomiting, right? Now, I have an RV, guys, and you guys know in the RV, if you don't clean the toilet out or have it run all the time, you're dry camping, the RV toilets smell massively bad, but still nothing compared to a decomposing body. What's up, Total Avett Bro Fan Guilty Crime? Thank you so much. It means a lot. Happy New Year's Eve to you, my friend. All right. Let's keep going.
Driving a person or decapitating a person or, cutting off their limbs and stuff like that. They do get a sexual pleasure out of it. And allegedly, David has expressed that in the past on his live streams and on his server. And at one point, he said he had to stop watching it because he got addicted to the gore.
Well, you can call it that. Absolutely. BDSM and necrophilia are two separate things, but there's a line that crosses there, Foxy, where people want you to pretend like you're dead, you don't breathe, you don't even move. So that doesn't mean that you actually have done necrophilia, but it means that you're interested in that type of thing. I don't think anybody in their life would do that, would be doing necrophilia if they are not exposed to a body that's not alive. So what I'm saying is the lines get crossed there between those things. And just because they like that, it doesn't mean they wouldn't take it to the next level if there was a dead body or if there were. Graciela, thank you so much from the future. $10 super chat, 12 p.m. in Melbourne, Australia. Happy New Year. Feliz Año Nuevo. Got a roast in the oven for lunch and many a sleep over the house. More to come. Wishes all fun, peace, happiness, laughter, and love. Thank you. I appreciate you. Two totally different things, although some people have multiple kinks, right? And sometimes it crosses into that line of wanting to do that, experimenting with that, and then they get an opportunity, what they call an opportunity. Yeah, people do get confused, but I'm not. I'm trying to say the lines get blurred, and especially with little kids like this that have excess amounts of things and they don't know what to do with them.
And I don't know, like David, with him being 20 and for this going on for the past 4 or 5 years, I don't know why his parents, why this behavior was not intercepted. I don't know how this got past his parents.
He's very young, you guys. I want you to realize that too.
Guys, we're about to leave soon.
Everybody is dressed.
We're all chilling, bro. We gotta go.
There's no light.
We gotta go. We gotta go. He's just slaying with that belly button ring. Hey!
Hey, one funny way.
Are you just rocking anything they did get inside? You're not rocking anything over it?
Listen, guys, if this explains anything, David's only 20. All right. I want you guys to know that. Yeah, exactly. Bondage. David is literally only 20. He freaking turned 20. His name's David Anthony Burke. March 28th, 2005. He's 20 freaking years old. So that gives you a timeline of this child. I think he absolutely was under 18 when he met her. How old was David when he met Celeste? I think he was under the age. He became over it. And I think that they dismiss it because of that. Celeste Rivas Hernandez was 13. Some people say 12. Oh, actually, she was 13 when she was reported missing in 2024. Guys, April 5th, 2024. That's interesting. You guys sense a pattern? I didn't even think about that. Listen, David has wanted to experiment, according to his videos, with sex and dead bodies and blood and all of that. So listen here, I gotta tell you what I'm thinking now. David Anthony Burke his birthday was March 28th. All right, 2025, 20 years old. Now, not even 6 days later, on April 5th was when she was reported missing, right after his birthday. So he turned 19 on March 2024. Yeah, he was definitely younger when he met Celeste was 13 when she disappeared, and David was 19. So they've definitely built a timeline around her age and his, and him being under. So I guess they excuse that. I don't know. He's a pedo.
He's a belly button watcher. That's crazy. We might need to put it on.
So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. There's a moment where David,
Hey, good
you
to
know,
see
lifts
you.
his shirt up, and then Neo touches him because there's like a sexual relationship between the two of them.
Not you hear. See what I'm saying though? I wonder if it was a birthday thing going on. I didn't even realize the connection of the things we don't actually know. My internet went out. Leave a comment. Oh, all right. Well, thank you. We appreciate your content. And you know, I could have found that video elsewhere, but I like finding new content creators and sharing their stuff. All right, let's talk a little bit about this, and then we're gonna get into the. Hold on, this was a day ago. Oh, come on.
David is squarely in the crosshairs of the person who is going to be prosecuting the case. Her name is Beth Silverman. She is,
All right, hold on.
you know, there's a lawyer in town named Marty Singer. We always call him the legal pit bull. She is every bit
the DA's version
every bit
of
that.
the legal pit bull.
Yes. And she has been, as a matter of fact, Alexa, come over here for a second.
We know that she's been some of the people that she's been grilling.
Coming over.
And they're all.
And guys, I gotta tell you, you guys believe in you guys are here all the time and you understand how grooming works. So Mo, when you refer to having gaming conversations with Celeste as young as 10, I absolutely believe that he was heavily grooming that little girl, either online or in person. Maybe it started out online as grooming and then it moved into person, but she was abso-freaking-lutely groomed. And in my opinion, David's a pedo. I just don't understand why people seem to be excusing that. All right, let's listen up here for a few minutes, and then we're going to go into some law and crime stuff. I want you to hear it's about 7 minutes of this and the prosecution and the grand jury so that you guys understand that David is going to be facing these murder charges. When is the question, in my opinion.
Do we have a boom mic over?
Yeah. So Alexa has been down at the grand jury room for a couple of weeks now. And they're in a recess right now for the holiday. But you saw the manager of David, the day-to-day manager, going in and out. And when he came out and talked to his lawyer, he made it clear that Beth Silverman was rabid about this case.
Yeah, Robert Morgan Roth, obviously.
And that's good news because when a prosecutor is rabid about a case, that means they're going to do it. They're going to keep on it like a dog with a bone. Mab, member for 2 months. Yo, Jay and chat, the Turtle King is here. Well, until I see that king belt, I don't believe you. Just kidding. I want to see that belt really bad. Email me it when you get it. King Mabster, good to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure. I mean, make sure I didn't miss anything from y'all. And I didn't. All right, let's keep going, guys. This is serious stuff. This is not 2 years. Let me explain that. Who just said 2 years? No, it wasn't 2 years. They're dating her being missing from then, but her body being found was as of late. When he was on tour, he still kept going on tour and they pulled him off. This is as of late. Kristen, Happy New Year, Jay. Love from Vermont, member for 9 months. Thank you, my friend. All right. And Mab, my mom says hello.
David's day-to-day manager, been seen with him a lot on tour. He kind of poked at that. He told Beth that he really didn't feel like it was his responsibility.
Well, she said, why didn't you call the cops? She said this to him when he was testifying. Why didn't you call the cops?
Yeah, and he explains that Beth was very pushy on that answer, getting that answer out of Robert. But he said it wasn't his responsibility and that he just wanted to continue.
And again, we don't know what the question was before that led to her saying, why didn't you call the cops?
Or something he had said.
Yeah, that is really weird that the prosecutor would ask somebody on David's defense side Why didn't you call the cops? What does that mean? Call the cops from what? What did he see? What did he smell? What did he hear? Now, remember, the grand jury is getting closer to coming back with an indictment after the holidays. I think the only reason things have slowed down is because of the holidays. Chris64, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Much love to you, my friend. Thank you. Happy New Year's, guys.
But it's clearly a crime because you call the cops when there's a crime.
So she believes there was a crime.
There was something that Morgenroth apparently knew because he acknowledges it's not my responsibility. Something he knew that triggered Beth Silverman into saying, well, why didn't you call the cops? So it had to be something involving a crime. Now, we know that her body was found in his Tesla in a bizarre set of circumstances where in the spring, All
right, now listen up. If you're new to this and you didn't watch my videos or you're not keeping up on this, this is giving you an idea. CBD or anybody else, it gives you an idea. This is September 8th, 2025, when the body was found, how it was found, all that. There's a pretty extensive timeline that has changed a few times, my friends, and it's changed a few times due to the sources that are reporting versus what LAPD is actually announcing. All right, so there's a lot of inside information here.
Made this mysterious trip, David did, to Santa Barbara and spent a couple of hours in the middle of the night.
Right.
And then came back.
And then came back.
And
keep in mind, and of course, the car was found very close to the home that he had been renting.
Yep.
I mean, everything from day one.
Renting from, the lease was under the name of the co-manager who was in Morgenroth's company.
Right. So it's all kind of aligning.
It's all around David. I mean, as they say, like it's closing in. The walls, if you're David, you've got to feel like the walls are closing in on you because the people that they've brought before this grand jury, plus everything that we know about the case already, that lines up around him.
And grand juries,
the old adage is you can indict a ham sandwich. They are going to listen to what the prosecutors present as evidence. And
yeah, she ran away. They call it a runaway. So yes, that's, I believe, why it took so long, because she was typically a runaway and she would go with David. She wasn't supposed to. Imagine your freaking 12-year-old daughter meeting some guy online and then him grooming her. And you guys know that you're 12 and 13-year-old. She didn't even make it to 14, guys. Didn't make it to 14. And I know I haven't asked you guys much, but please do me a favor. We have 200 people in here and only 117 likes. If you please would hit that like button, subscribe, get a membership, all of that. Right? I don't know if we hit the goal, but maybe we could do something with at the end. I don't know. Let's see. All right.
Even if this started in some investigatory fashion,
I don't think it didn't.
It probably didn't, but this can morph into something they're going to hand down an indictment. That's what grand juries typically do. You can go on this fishing expedition and investigate, but typically their job is to
we've confirmed this now. Yeah. Multiple sources. It was never an investigative grand jury.
Right. Totally understand. So now their job is to take what evidence is presented to them, even with witnesses who may be combative, and hand down an indictment. Whether that is murder or something else, we don't know that yet, or what degree of murder you're going to have.
We do know this. The cops have said, sources within the police department have told us, they are treating this as a murder, as is the DA. So they are looking at this as a murder, and they are looking at David as their primary suspect.
So once this grand jury, look, they may not even need to come back. We don't know.
They could do it much earlier. There's a hearing, I believe, scheduled for February.
Right, and in June. Right.
I don't think they're going to rush.
But they
things.
could. They
But
well.
that's the thing, it's just so
They've taken it very carefully this far.
This is just like 2 more minutes of them discussing this. We're going to talk about the legal ramifications for a bit. Hit that like button, guys. Much love. Yeah, the managers know a lot more. David is guilty. Kel, good to see you, my friend. And Melissa, I just wrote you back. I gave you a Visa gift card with $50 on it. And all you have to do is buy whatever you want by putting the number in. So whatever you buy, anybody that got a gift card from me, you just use that Visa number on it. So it's just like a regular credit card. Let's say it starts with 4511. You put the next numbers, put the CVV code and the expiration date, and boom. All right. Hope that helps. He needs to be locked up and to be called a pedo. The truth is the truth. Thank you. I agree 110%.
You don't want to botch it at the 5-yard line.
There's something I know. I don't think that February.
Listen, Mab, money makes the world go round, and pedos run the world, especially in Hollywood. She wasn't even 14. She didn't make it to her 14th birthday. She met this guy, David, at 12, and they knew it. And there's records of him giving them financial gain. I don't know how much the payments were, but for a multi-millionaire that has everything, I'm sure he paid a hefty fee for that little girl. So money in exchange for a child. Yes, save the children. Nina Drew, Happy New Year 2026, baby. Love you. All right, let's keep going.
Witness is essential based on, I can't say what I know, but I don't think that witness is essential. So they may wait until then, but they may not. I mean, they could come in at whatever point. And
they could. Why not belt and suspenders? They've been so careful and they've taken so much heat for being so slow and deliberate about this process. I wonder whether they will go through all of the motions. I don't know. You have more.
Now, he is not the only suspect. There are people they believe helped him.
Right.
And
in particular, the night he went to Santa Barbara.
Right. And based on what I've been told, I think there's going to be at least one other person who's going to be indicted for this.
Hello, I'm Melodak. I'm from Spring Hill, Florida. And finally, David is on a shopping list to get charged for Celeste.
Now, I'm looking at the timeline here, Foxy, and I'll have to correct that unless otherwise. I'm looking at the timeline, and it says that she didn't make it to her 14th birthday. So unless AI is completely wrong with the time frame, then I'll correct it. But it says Celeste was 13 when she disappeared in April 2024. When they said she was 14, she was already just a body that was chopped up, right? So I don't think so. I think that she only made it to 13. They said she was 14 by the time she was no longer with us so I don't know. I'm going to just correct that because I don't want people to get it incorrectly. All right. But anyway, hi, Cynthia. Good to see you, my friend. Plant lady. How you doing?
This is murder, possibly, because it's still not for certain. We know his manager testified, and I feel like in the beginning, they were trying to pin all of this on the manager for him to take the downfall, but I truly feel this was a multi-person operation. I think David was involved, and I think his manager and possibly even other people. It's just crazy that it has taken this long for them to get this far and for an arrest.
Well, you got to think about the circumstances here, that it is a tangled
It
web.
is. And guys, that's the thing, is going back and forth like this gives you alternate timelines. And I'm looking at this from yesterday, and it says singer David expected to face murder charges in the mysterious death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas, who was missing for a year before her remains of her body were found in the singer's discarded car. All right. So they literally are saying right here, Celeste Rivas was reported missing April 5th, 2024. At that time, Celeste was 13 years old. This was not the first time that Celeste ran away from home for an entire year. She remained missing until September 8th, 2025, when decomposed remains of Celeste were found in a car which belonged to David around the block from his rented house. David's Tesla was abandoned in August, and it was ticketed for violating parking rules on September 3rd. 5 days later, after the Tesla was impounded by authorities on September 5th, and after, guys, there was a foul smell coming from the front trunk of the Tesla where Celeste's remains were found. The exact date of Celeste's death could not be ascertained as the body was beyond examination. The cause of death also remained unknown. David canceled all the rest of his tours, and he's now considered a person of interest. A grand jury began hearing evidence in the case in November, and is now likely that the grand jury will absolutely indict David on murder charges. David's manager, Robert Morgenroth, testified for several days in this grand jury hearing, Details of the hearing are not exactly known, but claim that David took the help of multiple people to dismember her body. All right, so I hope that I'm getting you guys up to speed with what the hell I'm talking about today.
Going to Santa Barbara. And then if you're in Santa Barbara, why is the body ending up in a car in Los Angeles by his home?
Dismembered.
Dismembered.
Car. Yeah.
So there is a lot to unpack here. And I don't think this has been a particularly long time.
Yeah.
But remember, with the grand jury, David doesn't testify.
Yeah, David doesn't testify with the grand jury. Of course, he's not going to put himself in that predicament ever. And she was absolutely gone a year before. That's why we were talking about a body being kept in a cool or frozen place because of the decomposition. All right. This is fascinating to me. And once I get on a case like this, I can't let it go. And I would love to know the toxicology test for sure. It's crazy.
I mean, first of all, they could call him, but he's going to take the fifth. But
there's no one refuting the evidence
That's right.
that the prosecutors are presenting.
That's right.
Why the ham sandwich can get indicted.
That's exactly right.
Well, Christmas around the Kardashian household and Kim Kardashian's household.
All right, that's all done. And again, the timelines are correcting. They've corrected me several times. Foxy says her birthday is September 7th. I don't know if it's September 7th, and I could do the math. It's that everybody's saying she was 13 when she went missing, 14 when they found her. Now, if she was 15, they found her the day after her 15th birthday. They don't know how long she's been dead for. So we're going to just go with the time frame of 13, 14, possibly 14, 15 until they really clarify it. Right now, they haven't clarified it. They keep changing the timeline. And again, it may be because the body wasn't found. It wasn't found till a year later that they think she was already dead, which is very interesting. All right, let's take a look at this for a minute. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe, get your memberships, all of that. This is what is happening here.
Forth on whether singer David is in fact the suspect or not in connection with the death of this 14-year-old girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who was found in a Tesla reportedly registered to the romantic homicide singer back in September in LA. After all of that, now TMZ is reporting that he will likely face murder charges. Now, I have to take a second to explain how confusing this is if true, okay? I say if true because obviously there is no way to officially confirm this. Authorities are not going to confirm this. I mean, the New York Post just reported that they reached out to a Los Angeles District Attorney's Office spokesperson who said the case hasn't been presented to the office. But TMZ is reporting.
Now, like I said, I think that the whole video, and if you want to send me that, Foxy, you got to send it to me. My computer is being really shitty right now, so you got to send me a link in my email. All right, if Celeste was so we didn't even get a frozen solid. We did get a kept in a cool spot, and they literally did say that it was so bad they had trouble examining it, but they did examine it. So we're still LAPD saying it wasn't frozen, and other people are saying it wasn't frozen but cold. So I'm going to meet them halfway. All right, I'm going to meet them halfway there and say she was kept in a cool spot. And by the time they put her out in the vehicle in September for a week, she probably decomposed quite a bit and even faster once she starts to thaw out, so to speak.
That this is likely that David could be charged with murder because the reported grand jury hearing this case may be asked to hand down an indictment. Now, assuming for a moment that there is a grand jury, and I think we can, safely say that may be true. There was reporting about a grand jury and certain witnesses testifying because they appeared in the courthouse, like David's manager, Robert Morgenroth. So assuming that reporting is true, you can assume that perhaps a grand jury has been impaneled. But we always thought that it was an investigative grand jury. This is different. An investigative grand jury is one that helps to gather evidence, subpoena documents, compel people to testify, but they don't actually return an indictment. And when I say an indictment, formal charges. But now TMZ is reporting that their unidentified sources claim no, the jury that has allegedly been hearing evidence for the past.
So this is good news that we're 2 steps closer to him being indicted. Now, Krista, very happy New Year to you. Krista said happy New Year to all you guys. I'll see you soon. Love your channel. Have to go. Bye. Hope to see you again very soon. Yeah, rest in peace, Celeste. Whether she was 14 or 13, we'll figure that out. But right now, the timeline is telling me one thing. So anyway, we can go back and forth. We'll get a solid timeline soon.
Several weeks
Hopefully.
is one that can vote to return back an indictment. And their sources tell them that authorities believe David was involved in Celeste's death. So even if it is true that there is a grand jury and this is a grand jury that can indict someone, do we know for sure that it would be David that would be the subject of an indictment? And do we know that it would be for murder? No. But let me lay this out for a second, because last month, and what makes this confusing, and I want to put it all into context, last month, the LAPD came out with a statement that said, quote, the vehicle, talking about the Tesla where Celeste had been found, the vehicle had been parked at the location from which it was towed for several weeks. So Miss Rivas Hernandez may have been deceased for several weeks before the discovery of her body. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not yet determined the cause or manner of Miss Rivas Hernandez's death.
So this is going to be helpful for you guys to understand what's happening here. Let me just text Mrs. Guilty. She's at the store while I put this on, and I'll be back in just a second, guys. I'm going to mute.
As such, it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body, meaning there might not be a homicide charge. And then more recently, the LAPD told KTLA that they stand by that prior release. So if that's the case, why the change, right? I mean, if it's true, David is now being considered for homicide charges, what happened? Or, by the way, is he going to be indicted in connection with just the disposal or concealment of her body? Maybe he won't be indicted at all. But one of the complicating factors is whether something happened in the autopsy findings, right? Was there something in the toxicology reports? Was there something in the ME's reports? Was there something about cause and manner of death that changed the whole scenario? Remember, the cause and manner of death hasn't been revealed. The LAPD successfully petitioned the court to seal the medical examiner's records related to Celeste's death. The LAPD said in a statement that this was done, quote, only to ensure detectives from Robbery Homicide Division learned of important information surrounding her death before the media and the public. The order was not sought to undermine transparency. But the bottom line is,
But do you guys see what's happening here? There's a lot of different conflicting statements. Deborah says something happened, for fuck's sake. She was absolutely thrown away even as a person. And that's what I'm saying. David could have treated her so much better, even if it were an accidental love triangle death, unless he just did that to satisfy his and Neo's morbid curiosity. That could also be a thing too. But he did seem really super obsessed. All right, guys, hit that like button. We still got 188 people in here. And yeah, it must be Mama Guilty. Mama Guilty's at the store right now. If you guys notice, I've been coming on and not putting my thumbnail until like 3 o'clock. Well, guess what? Jay from Guilty of Crime sleeps until like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And Mrs. Guilty has been home and Baby Guilty has been home. So I've been very busy with the family. Indy Isham, thank you so much. Happy New Year, Jay. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Huge hugs. Mwah. Let's keep going. All right. Who else gets to see 2026 first? Yeah. Who gets to see that? Not me. I'm in Cali, baby. Cali.
We don't know if those findings led to a different conclusion. Did things change a bit? Yeah. It was reported that David was being considered a suspect by police, that they were looking at this as a homicide. To be clear, though, that wasn't officially confirmed by authorities. What they did confirm in a statement over Thanksgiving was the following. The Los Angeles Police Department is aware of the recent stories posted by various media outlets about the David Celeste Rivas investigation and would like to dispel some misinformation contained in their reporting.
Yes,
the body
please.
of Celeste Rivas was not frozen when it was discovered on September 8th, 2025. She had not been decapitated.
Now you see what's happening. This is what I really wanted to point out here. And I got the video, Foxy. I'll play that after. Lisa, thank you so much for being a member for 8 months. Happy New Year, my friend. Big hug to you. Now, the last video I came on here, there was conflicting statements right in the middle of my streaming. TMZ says LAPD is full of shit. And from what they heard, potato, tomato, frozen, cooled, cold, iced, whatever. They're playing semantics here, according to TMZ, about the LAPD statements. And they think they're doing that to keep information out of the public in order to get a proper indictment, which I can absolutely respect. All right. So when you get information like that, I'm letting you know kind of what and why. All right, let's keep going. There's a video that Foxy sent me where Celeste Rivas shows an argument with the neighbors months after she went missing. And it says here, I guess she was 14. So I'll play that and maybe that will clear up the timeline a little bit.
We have evidence that David traveled to the Santa Barbara area sometime during the spring of 2025. The reason for that trip is still under investigation, and we've drawn no conclusions at this point about the relevance of the trip to.
Again, I think that it was all a lot of smoke and mirrors, and there's a lot of trying to hide what their actions are, give him an alibi, and he moved from place to place, state to state, country to country, literally. All right, I know, I agree with that too. All right.
This case. So yeah, that release was done to correct the record on some reporting on the state of Celeste's body. But most importantly about that, the reason I brought it up, they also mentioned this apparent trip that David took. So that was big. That was confirmation. That was seeming confirmation that they were looking into David in some capacity. And also, according to reporting from outlets like Fox LA, David stopped cooperating with authorities. He also reportedly lawyered up that he retained renowned criminal defense attorney Blair Burke. And also, I'll note, we don't know where David is, right? He hasn't been publicly seen after he canceled his tour in the wake of Celeste's body being found. But you go back to this. You go back to this report that he may likely be indicted for murder. That is major. And if true, it sets a whole new chapter in this case and potentially provides a lot of answers as to what may have happened to Celeste, the girl who disappeared in 2024 when she was just 13 years old, was alleged.
See, that's the thing. When they say that, you see what I'm saying, Foxy? So I'm looking at this article where it says new Celeste Rivas video shows argument with neighbors months after she went missing. Celeste Rivas went home, guys, to visit her family in Lake Eleanor, California, exactly 1 year before her body was found. And they keep saying that it's 13, so I'm wondering when it's going to be corrected. So I'll show that after, and just, you know, put it at that. They keep saying 13 and then 4. She wouldn't have made it to 14, or she barely made it to 14. That's where I find the confusion.
Usually in some sort of relationship with the 20-year-old singer.
Thank you, Holly.
Also note that it's been reported that seasoned homicide prosecutor Beth Silverman is spearheading this grand jury presentation. Actually, when you go back to Morgan Roth, so the guy who apparently manages David, runs the record label, the touring company, TMZ reported that Morgan Roth was seen outside of a courtroom and was overheard telling his lawyer that the DA, so presumably Silverman, quote, she was very pushy on why I didn't call police. And I said, I feel like I didn't have the responsibility to do that and just wanted to continue with the tour. Now, this is all reported. We can't confirm it ourselves, what was said, what wasn't said, but we have to talk about this. And I will also say, according to TMZ, it was overheard in that hallway that this.
And do you see how the sources are crossing between TMZ, News Nation? It's all coming back to one source. And there's a lot of shady dealings coming from David's side, which I'm not surprised of at all.
This grand jury could be hearing evidence till February. So even if an indictment or a potential indictment was on the horizon, we may not see it soon. All right, so I want to bring on my friend, trial attorney Rich Schoenstein, to talk about this. Rich, you know, a lot of this is speculation. A lot of this is reporting based on.
And we're just going to talk a little bit about this. I'm not going to keep you guys here for hours, but if you're here with me, let me know. Hit that like button, drop a 1 if you're still interested in hearing more and having me go over that new video that was released that shows that Celeste actually went home to visit her family, which also leads me to absolutely believe that her parents freaking not only knew, but they condoned the relationship and they gained monetarily, which I would never do in a million years. I would not give baby guilty up for $100 million. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I've learned my lesson with money and having it and knowing that it's not the root to happiness. It's the root of all evil. So I would never, ever. These people are sick. They should be charged too for not taking care of their daughter.
What we're seeing. What do you make of it? What do you make of the reporting? I laid out how confusing this is, how it's a little bit of backlash. It seems to be inconsistent with what we've seen in the past. But do you think that this is a realistic possibility? Right now, we're talking about potentially this grand jury indicting David for murder. What do you make of this reporting?
Well, I think it's a possibility, and I agree with you. It's very speculative because you don't really know what a grand jury is going to do until.
Well, listen, are you still going to feel like it's neglect, thought criminal, when this gets to trial and we see large money transactions from David, or maybe even from David's little freaking fuckboy or manager, large sums of money going into Celeste's parents' account? Would you say it's more than the bare minimum neglect? That's what I want to know. That's my question. And Amber, you're very welcome for us doing this. I have a feeling Celeste's stepdad was molesting Celeste as well, which is why she wanted to run away. There's a possibility too. And hey, it's all good needing money. I don't need it that bad, and none of us do, to give up our children. Just saying.
They do it. It's not a live proceeding. We don't have access. We don't know for a fact all of the evidence that's being presented or what the purpose even is. The initial reports had been, I think that this was what we call an investigative grand jury, right? So the idea there is you have a lot of witnesses or potential witnesses who don't want to talk to authorities. This may shock you, but some people don't like talking to the police, especially if it's high profile matters. So you convene a grand jury so you can subpoena people, bring them in, swear them under oath, put them under penalty of perjury, and question them in front of a grand jury. That's the power of an investigative grand jury. And that's what we thought initially was happening here.
Unless the reporting was wrong, unless they really.
Now, the reason we're even here today, Deborah, is because an indictment is possibly a huge possibility of coming down the pipelines for David. The grand jury has met, and they're meeting about an indictment, not just evidence. All right. Positive vibes. So just realize I was behind. You are behind, but it's all good. Yeah, I agree with that, Dukes. The parents trafficked her. And you know what I'd even say even further, Dukes, is that a lot of parents traffic their children to Hollywood without even probably knowing it initially. I watch a lot of Hollywood interviews from old child stars and their parents, and they had no idea they were selling their child to the devil, so to speak. All right. I've always come from a wealthy family, and money is not everything. I agree.
It really wasn't an investigative grand jury, and it was a grand jury that was tasked with securing an indictment, or there is a second grand jury that's been impaneled after the investigative grand jury, or there is no grand jury, or there's still just an investigative grand jury that won't release an indictment. But, I guess the question is why that change? That's confusing.
An indictment for murder. Do you see that up there? David likely to be charged with murder. They're putting down the indictment for murder. We don't know exactly yet. We don't know that it's going to be the abuse of a corpse, depending on the people involved. But right now, it's looking like murder charges. All right. So let's keep going.
If it changed, and listen, I think all of the possibilities you just laid out are out there. It might have been a regular grand jury from day one. This might be a new grand jury. They might have changed it. But if it changed from an investigation to seeking an indictment, then that leads me to believe that the prosecutors think they have gathered enough evidence to sustain an indictment and to prosecute the case. That would be the thing that changed, the amount of evidence the prosecutors had.
Now, I have to ask you, if this reporting is true, why they now believe, again, we don't know for sure, but why there could be a murder charge, why this is a homicide. What would have led them to conclude that? Because there was prior statements that indicated there might be no crime other than concealment of a body. There was talk about, was Celeste's death accidental? Was it an overdose? We don't know for sure. But
again, we don't know what the toxicology has to say. And I wonder if they had all the tissue samples that they needed. Now, Val, a private lawyer is a lot of money. I think David has a good amount of money for defense, but I also see a lot of shady lawyers popping into these true crime channels trying to talk about the case, in my belief, in hopes that David will pick one of them up. I assure you, that's what they do. All right. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's keep going.
I do wonder, was there something, let's say, from the ME's report, the toxicology findings, that would indicate that this was a homicide, that this was murder, that David was allegedly responsible? We don't know for sure. But what do you think? If this reporting's true, why potentially seek a murder charge against him now? What changed?
So I don't think it's strictly something from the ME report, because you would have had that early on. If it was just a matter of toxicology and you thought, well, this is not the kind of drug someone would voluntarily take, this is something that was given to them, I don't know that you would have gone through all of this with the grand jury. You probably would have known that just from the chemicals. So what it suggests to me.
And you guys see what's happening here when we listen to this and we're talking to, old prosecutors or defense attorneys. What they're saying is we have a huge realm of possibilities. They probably wouldn't do it this way if they found it to be an overdose, and then based on the overdose, they cut her body up, right? So they wouldn't do that, and that's probably not likely. is what he's saying.
Is that some
Which makes
witness
sense.
or witnesses have come in and said something. Maybe the investigators have a more cohesive story about motive. Maybe they have some circumstantial evidence that they didn't have at the beginning that would make this look more like a murder than an accident. You know, anytime the story is potentially just someone was trying to cover up a body, you're always going to look at that real hard. You're always going to look at that and be like, really? Were they just getting rid of a body, or are they involved here on a somewhat more nefarious level?
And that's what I think. This guy, why does this guy look like a filter? He looks like he's like a regular dude, but they put a filter on him. Why is that? What's up? Happy New Year to you. 2026 is almost here. I'm in Cali, so we got a few hours, but Happy New Year to you, my friend.
So there's all sorts of different kinds of evidence that they could have come up with. Since it's a grand jury proceeding, I sort of lean to thinking it must be something testimonial.
You could 100% be right, and you laid it out perfectly. I do wonder, though, is there a possibility, and again, we don't know this for sure, that if drugs were involved, can you prosecute somebody for murder or manslaughter if you supplied the drugs to someone and they died?
Yeah, I don't think you usually see that. If it's two people voluntarily using drugs and one of them dies, you don't generally see criminal charges against the other person for being the supplier. Now, we're talking about a minor victim here, right? So that adds another level here. Possibly there could be some sort of charge for supplying narcotics to a minor. That might.
Well, it'd be nice if they would get him for sex with a minor, grooming a minor, all the things that he did in between the time and before she was murdered.
Might be independently a crime that would be different if that person had been an adult. But generally speaking, when two people are using and one of them overdoses, I don't think you see charges against the survivor.
And there is a possibility that it's not a murder charge or not a homicide charge, but a charge related to the concealment or disposal
Here it is,
of
guys.
the body. Right? I mean, we could be talking about a possibility where he is criminally charged, but not necessarily directly in connection with her death.
Sure, 100%. They could go after for some other charge, for hiding the body, for interfering with the investigation, for all sorts of things. And by the way, Jesse, you know, part of this too is the suspect's
Yeah, I'm just not into this, you know, like this new age generation thing, this new. I've tried to get into his music and listen to it and be like understanding. Hey, I'm into horror, but horror doesn't cross over into BDSM and cutting people up. Like, I don't want anything to do with that. And when you watch this guy, he's just a freaking weirdo. And at first I was like, maybe he's just a weirdo because I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the generation, but yeah, just creeper to me. Everything about him just seems really dark.
Has he been cooperative? What has he told authorities? Do the authorities believe that he's cooperating, or do they think they're getting the runaround from him, right? That adds a level to what they're looking at.
And I want to add something else as well. Whatever the potential charge is or could be or allegedly is, the likelihood that a grand jury here would return an indictment is high, right? I mean, explain to our viewers why it is more likely than not that a grand jury would return an indictment given.
So that's what we have to look forward to in 2026 is the grand jury coming back with an indictment in January, late or February, like they're talking about. Now, he might not do well in prison, but he might like it with all the boys in there. There's going to be a lot of boys in there. They might not be wanting to do the things he wants to do, but like Jake Harrow's already getting his ass kicked for what he did. So let's see what happens with David. Let's make sure that we get an indictment. Isn't the having one ear pierced a gay thing? No, it's actually the opposite of a gay thing. When the guys get one piercing on one side, it means something back in the day, but now it's like they only get one, so people know they're not. But I think he was openly bisexual. I don't think he was hiding that he was messing around with Neo. Anybody?
The evidence that was presented.
Well, a grand jury is a completely one-sided proceeding. The government presents its evidence, its theory of the case, and asks the grand jury to return an indictment. You don't hear from the defense. Nobody gets cross-examined by the defense. The defense doesn't put on witnesses. And because of that, there is a tendency for the government to get an indictment from a grand jury when they want. There's that old saying, you can indict a ham sandwich, which loosely means you can get an indictment anytime you want. I don't think that's really true. We've seen, even recently, sometimes grand juries put off.
I mean, it's a shame that Celeste Rivas, her life was cut so short. she had such a little time on this planet. And when she was on this planet, she was doing things like running away from her parents. She was doing things that children should be doing, enjoying life. She wasn't. So it makes me sad that she lost her life. And then you look at the people around David that he's now ruined their life, and people don't want to associate with them because of him. And then to take it further, 20 years old, he had the world in his hands, at his fingertip. He could hop on a plane outside of his door and be to Italy in a blink of an eye and then come right back into California. That guy had everything anyone in their right mind could want, and he just pissed it all away with the things that he's implicated in right now.
The government and say, no, that's not enough, we're not doing it. But the majority of the time, you will get an indictment when you seek one with the grand jury. The other thing is, prosecutors tend to have at least enough evidence to bring charges if they're seeking an indictment in front of a grand jury. It doesn't mean they have enough evidence to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but they have enough evidence to make the charge.
And just to circle back here, there is grounds to this. There is an idea that he could be criminally charged, because if you couple it with, law enforcement, LAPD, making that statement that they have evidence that David traveled to the Santa Barbara area sometime during the spring of 2025. We're still trying to understand the reason about that. That was still under investigation. But the fact that they mentioned that property that he was allegedly staying at in LA, which was reportedly near where the Tesla was found. And by the way, her body found in a Tesla, reportedly his Tesla, reportedly registered to him. The fact that TMZ and other outlets reported that his manager had apparently or allegedly been testifying in front of the grand jury. There is a strong indication. If you were representing David, would you say, be on the lookout? It is a strong possibility that you could be facing a charge at this point, given everything that we've seen.
I hope that that's the case. I hope that he's scared right now and scrambling, as he should be, because an entire family and friends and community is missing Celeste. Although, guys, I haven't seen a big shitstorm. I haven't seen any of that. I mean, when we're covering these other cases, there's people out there protesting with signs. Where's my daughter? Where's my family? This family, I haven't seen them do anything. All right. Now, conflicting statements again, and I'll show that after. But Fox LA reports that Celeste Rivas was 14 when she died and 15 when they found the body. So again, ABC and USA Today says she was 15 years old, but 14 when she passed, 15 when they found her. So we'll see that. We'll keep going with that. Definitely conflicting statements
right now.
Well, sure. You would always advise your client, if there's a grand jury proceeding going on and your client is a suspect, whether that's capital S suspect or one of many suspects, you would always give your client advice about that, about the grand jury proceeding and what's going on, that it is a possibility. And again, harkening back to what we just talked about, that it's relatively easy to get an indictment from the grand jury. And certainly here, there's been a lot of public speculation and stuff in the press that he might be a suspect. So I'm sure he's been advised accordingly.
Would it be just him who would be indicted?
All right, I want to talk about that because I absolutely think there has to be another person involved in this. There's no way that he would have pulled this off by himself while establishing an alibi. Don't know who it is yet. I think it's Neo. Anyway, tattoos are addictive. I want to warn you, Wyatt. They're very addictive. I got my first tattoos at 18 on my stomach, and then I started getting more on my stomach, and then it moved all the way down to a bodysuit at 46 years old. So be careful. All right. You say Asha is 23, Neo 22, and David 20. Celeste 15 if she was alive. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, tattoos are addicting. That's not even a tattoo on him. It's just like one of those pimple patches.
Or if an indictment comes down, you would see multiple defendants, because there was talk about potentially a second suspect.
Yeah, I mean, now you're getting even deeper into the speculation. So I don't know. It depends what the investigation.
Well, I guess traditionally speaking, like if an indictment comes down in a case like this, would they do it? Everybody that they can charge at one time, they would, or would you see potentially an indictment against David, then a month later indictment against somebody else, or do you see typically an indictment against multiple defendants?
You see it all sorts of different ways. I think more commonly you would see it together because it would be one grand jury go.
But guys, it's whoever is going to point the finger, and you know that he who talks first usually wins, and he who has the most money usually wins. Yeah, that damn thing looks like a pimple patch. Every time I see that fool, I'm like, why is that fool wearing a freaking pimple patch on the stage? That's not cool, dude. It's not cool to be a pedo and wear pimple patches on your face, bro. Wait till you get into prison.
Going over a set of facts and a set of witnesses, and you would do it together. But if you subsequently got information about other potential defendants, you could bring the grand jury back. You could convene a different grand jury. You could have a whole different proceeding. So you could have other prosecutions down the road. I would presume you would do them together if you could.
Do you think that this reporting, if true, that he could be facing an indictment, do you think it has anything to do with what we previously reported about regarding Steve Fisher? So this private investigator.
All right, listen,
hired by
this is the
owners
guy.
of that property that David was apparently saying.
All right, listen, this guy plays a big role in this, whether he knows things or not. And this is what I wanted to get to. I hate that they say she was 15. You don't get older. That's what I'm saying, Panda Ann. I don't like that either. I've never covered a true crime case where somebody passed away or somebody was murdered and you keep going with the age. No, they're forever 14. They're forever 13. She wasn't 15. She didn't make it. I don't like that either. Just my 2 cents. All right, let's talk about this guy. What's he up to?
Staying at. Again, it was searched by authorities. It was located reportedly near where the Tesla was found. So Steve took to X and he said, although my words have been misquoted by some, what I actually said about certain items found at the Mahaney address was that they were items you would expect to find on a farm rather than in a home in the Hollywood Hills. One of those items was a burn cage incinerator advertised to burn at 1600 degrees. Human cremations are typically performed at approximately 1400 degrees. An incinerator is not legal to use within city limits and serves no legitimate purpose at a residential property in the Hollywood Hills. Some will argue that this item was intended as a prop for a video. If that were the case, it raises several obvious questions. Why would a 55-pound bird cage be delivered to a private residence instead of directly to a prop designer or production house?
Right. Absolutely. And like I said, why did they all of a sudden, after a year, decide to dump her body and pull it around? Do you think people were getting suspicious and he's like, oh shit, I gotta go on tour. We got to get rid of this. We're on tour. We got to get rid of this. Let's do it. It just doesn't seem right. It seems like buying a chainsaw, buying an incinerator, and all the money he had, that he could have definitely pulled that off and not even left the body there. So what's the deal with that? That's what I want to know too.
Why would it be ordered before departing on an extended world tour? And why was it never used in any video production? It is also important to note that there were additional items present that could be used in conjunction with the burn cage. To be very clear, this burn cage was not used. It was still new and in the box. However, given that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's remains were ultimately found in the Tesla trunk, the presence of an incinerator at the same residence associated with that vehicle necessarily raises questions about intent. The burn cage was not taken during the search warrant, and because it was not used, it appears it's not of importance to any possible criminal investigation, but we think it's important context, even if not criminal. The bird cage and other related items were delivered to the residence under a false name, although the deliveries were accepted at the property. Attached is a photograph of the actual burn cage incinerator as found at the residence, along with an image from Dr. Burns' advertising materials for the product. And I will also say that Steve went on News Nation and said, we found a chainsaw, no purpose.
And this was a big deal. Why I came on today was the indictment that's coming down. And I heard about the incinerator and then the chainsaw, and they didn't give us a lot of information on it. So I was wondering if and when. Yeah, if she was born September 7, 2010, she was not 15. And that's the thing, Mom. That's what I'm saying. And you don't turn 15 when you're no longer alive. All right, a burn cage can be used several things on a farm. Yes, there's no place for an actual burn cage incinerator in Hollywood Hills in a house that you've rented. And they didn't film a video in it, so I don't understand that. He could have been using it for props, but why? We found a chainsaw. No purpose for the chainsaw to be at the house. It still had the shield on it over the chain. There it was with the burn cage. You got to wonder what the plan was. All right, let's keep going.
Admitted into trial, can we establish clearly that it was delivered to this defendant, or somehow under his control, or somehow related? And I guess there's this possible story that they were just props for a video. Is there anything concrete to establish that? There are a whole mess of issues tied up with that evidence. But yeah, I think if there is investigative work that suggests that this individual.
Well, they called it an incinerator in one and a burn cage in the other. I haven't actually seen a picture of it yet. So I'm just going to go with what we have for right now. I mean, they didn't use it, so there's nothing to really argue about that. It probably was a prop.
Was accumulating equipment that would help him get rid of a body. That is going to resonate with the investigators and probably push them to want to get an indictment.
Can you walk us through, so that, it's being reported that they might still be hearing witnesses till February, so an indictment might not be imminent if it is actually going to be coming down. Can you walk us through how it works? If an indictment is handed down, what are the next steps? Would David, let's say he is indicted, does he surrender? Is he arrested? What are the next steps? What should we be on the lookout for when this case, or if this case progresses in that way?
Yeah, sometimes grand jury proceedings like this can linger a while. They don't start on a Monday.
But this has gone pretty hot and heavy. It's got a lot hotter and heavier over the last month, and I don't know what that means or why they're now coming out with evidence and information that they already knew, unless it's getting closer. And guys, TMZ is over there at the courthouses, and all the sources from TMZ are getting it in. All right, no way that was from. I don't think so either. I think that it got delivered either sometime when he was on tour, or it could have been when he was on tour and they were going to use it for something and they didn't get a chance, right? I've missed a lot. I need to start watching more. Emmett, good to see you, my friend. Blessed little lady. Intent to conceal a body is possible. However, maybe they were going to use it in the desert while he's on tour, but someone decided to park the car and let her be found. Yeah, I absolutely think they got spooked by something. We don't have that yet, and that's it, Cheeky. We don't know who even bought it or signed for them, right? That's what we don't know. We don't have the credit card. We don't know who signed for it. We don't have videos of them, delivering it. We don't have any of that yet. And why would we? It wasn't used. They weren't used.
And end on a Friday necessarily. They can have breaks, and especially we have the holidays here, and you have to schedule them according to the witnesses you want to bring in. So I very much buy the idea that this might go into February before there's a conclusion. At the end of the grand jury proceeding, the prosecutors will seek an indictment, and if they get one, if the grand jury votes to indict, then they are able to indict and start a case against the defendant. He will be arrested. He would plead guilty or not guilty. There would be a proceeding in court to determine whether or not he would be held in custody while the proceedings were going on. There would be an opportunity for his attorneys to try to move to dismiss the charges that were brought against him for whatever legal basis they might have. There would be a period of criminal discovery and disclosure, and then, the case would proceed on its way to trial potentially. And obviously, there's a possibility at any point in that sequence that there could be a negotiated resolution, that there could be a plea bargain, that there could be a deal on the table, that the matter could be concluded without further formal proceedings or a trial.
And I appreciate you laying all that out. I think that's
well, there was multiple people staying at the house. And as a matter of fact, David's manager said something about incriminating evidence in the house, and why he didn't call about it was because that wasn't his business to do so. So the delivery, the purchase under a fake name, whatever it was, it doesn't matter if there's a signature or not. We all have Ring nowadays. I'm sure the house has cameras. We'll find out in due time. We will definitely find out in due time what those pieces of evidence actually mean.
Really good explanation
in this case.
In fact, I guess before we wrap things up, and this is another big point, when will we have answers to the questions that we have? And maybe more importantly, when will the family have answers to the questions that they have? Because the ME's findings have been sealed based on the LAPD court order. You do wonder if an indictment comes down, would it list out all the witnesses? Would it list out all the evidence? Will the ME's report then be released? I mean, if an indictment should come down, how much information will we actually
I think it's coming, guys.
Well, you know this as well.
Now, listen, real quick. We're almost at the end of this. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Maggie, thank you for coming back. Hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends and community. Now, I've been following this case heavily, and almost every day, multiple times a day, you can find new videos coming out about David and Celeste, just different things. But when I bring it to you, it's when we have evidence and lawyers start talking about it, the grand jury gets involved, LAPD gives a statement, right? I try not to just come out with just, he farted on a video. What does that mean? Right? Her parents knew and should be prosecuted, and justice for Celeste is why we're here. All right. We're not here to talk about David taking a dump and his house smelling like a dead body, or his gay, possible bisexual relationship that was a love triangle. That's all suppositions right now. But I think that's going to be easily used as a motive. And we've got multiple Celestes in this picture. Not really, but many times where there was another girl named Celeste that looked similar. Did she know she was being subbed in and out? Probably.
Anybody, Jesse, because you read a bunch of these indictments.
They're
Sometimes they're a
gonna
little bit
talk.
thin. I mean, sometimes they just lay out sort of the underlying facts of the crime as alleged, and they don't put in the detail. In fact, I'm not sure I've seen a lot of them where you get a list of witnesses or a list of exhibits. You don't get that kind of thing until you get closer to trial. You don't get to see the evidence until you're in the discovery process in the
And why
criminal
would you?
proceeding. So you might get an indictment now. Is that an answer for his family or her family? Is it an answer for the public? I don't know. I assume because this is a high profile matter, a celebrity matter, if there is an indictment, I assume there will be people who think it's an unfair indictment. I assume there will be people who will side with the defendant. We see a lot of that these days. So I don't know if it will answer anybody's questions. To me, you don't get a final answer until there's a plea or a verdict at trial.
Rich Schoenstein, thanks so much for taking the time, as always.
All right, that was awesome. I'm going to show you that video quickly because we're going over, was she 14? Was she 15? What does that mean? In my opinion, she was 14. She didn't make it to 15, but let's take a look at this. Again, this is not the episode where I'm showing you guys a timeline. We've already done that. I've covered this case in multiple videos, but let's take a look at the TMZ one and her going home for a little break. All right, guys, let's take a look at this. And I see you guys asking for Venmos and stuff. That's awesome. I would have really appreciate that. There's all my stuff down there, guys. Go over to guiltyofcrime.ghost. Sign up for that for free. If you want to PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, or email guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. It's all below. And I would appreciate it. Everything goes back into the channel and it helps. All right. We take everything and then just put it right back so we can continue doing Guilty of Crime. Some people haven't heard about this terrible occurrence. Right. And I follow the big pieces in the case. Would have been sick if the cage and all the prop was for a video with a real person and no one would thought other. Right. All right. Cheeky says, I'm not drunk. Just want to tell Jay, mods, and crew, I love y'all and I wish y'all well in 2026. May it be a fabulous year for all of us. Happy New Year. I agree. Thank you, Cheeky. I love your sticker down there. Look at that. Cheeky's got a Guilty of Crime sticker. Yay. All right, let's keep going. Let's I appreciate you guys so much. And Mab, if you email me, let me know when you're going live. I would be happy to go in and support you in your chat. All right, here. New Celeste Rivas video shows argument with neighbors months after she went missing. All right, Celeste Rivas went home, guys, to visit family in Lake Eleanor exactly 1 year before her body was found in David's Tesla. All right, let's take a look at that. Foxy sent that over. You guys are awesome. Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year if you're already in the future. I'm in California. It's only 6 o'clock here, guys. All right, let's get this up. Thank you for sending that, Foxy.
Right there. I'll tell you where that. See that door right there? Number 2, not there.
So we crazy. Yeah, pays, man. I can't play it. There's music. Back to the nature at hand. Perfection is perfected, so I'm gonna let her understand. All right. All right, so this is Celeste fighting with a neighbor, right, when she went to go visit her family last time. And again, I apologize. Hopefully the music didn't mess things up, but I'm down for some Dr. Dre to start going with it. I just can't play it on my channel. Why the hell is this taking so long? Because they want to make sure they have the proper evidence to get a solid arrest. All right. Nina Drew, thank you so much. Happy New Year's Eve to you as well. All right. What video from yesterday are you talking about? I don't know what y'all are talking about, but let me finish playing this of Celeste Rivas. Months after she went missing, this came out. Now, this is a neighbor. Look at her house compared to being in Hollywood Hills. All right. If this is a neighbor, this looks like an apartment in that area. They're an apartment. There's a lot of people just chilling outside. This is not a $20 million mansion with all the drugs and everything you want. That's what this is. That's what David was. Hold on. You tripping.
All right, I'm not going to let your woman talk. Why is she over here? Good. Little house, you don't even got a house. Hey, bro. You talk to. nobody black right here, homie. We're Southsiders right here, homie. We're Southsiders here. Get it right, homegirl. Shut up with your black talking. Shut up. You talking like you black girl with your black talking. Yeah. Ain't nobody black right here. What are you talking about? I said we're not black over here. Why are you calling us?
And she's obviously using the N-word. She's like, hey, you know what I'm saying? And she's hanging around David and sure really comfortable by then. I felt like this was meant to make Celeste look bad when they released it. Probably. But they also showed that she was in touch with her family and, you know, she would go back and forth. She was 13, 14 years old. What the hell was she out there running the streets for?
Keep saying we're not black. Let it go. Go back to your house.
Damn.
You're gonna do nothing, bro. What you gonna do? You know,
damn.
You ain't nothing. You know what I mean? What you are but a little girl. What you but a little girl.
He's calling her a little fucking girl. You ain't nothing but a little girl. Wow. Wow. Thanks, Mab. You love the guilty of crime, especially the beanies. Awesome. All right. Julie says, Jay, what do you do with your fur babies when fireworks are going? Oh, girl, I've had animals for the last 20 years. You just hang out with them and chill. None of my dogs like fireworks, but they just chill out. You can give them a blanket or a jacket. They feel better if you put clothes on them, but you know, just keep them calm. All right, let's get this done, and then I'm going to show you the burn cage, or they call it a freaking incinerator. I'm going to show it to you after this. Thank you for sending that over, Foxy or Synth, whoever sent that.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Synth, thank you, Synth.
You need to go home. Seriously.
I'm not Mexican. Salvador, you tripping.
Oh my God.
Not you tripping. Pull the out of here.
You ain't gonna do shit. You ain't gonna do shit. You better get over there. Get your over there, little girl. Go there, little girl. You ain't gonna do shit. Go. Go. What are you gonna do, bro?
Go call her dad, babe.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, little girl?
All right, that was it. What are you going to do, little girl? She sure didn't sound much like a little girl. Obviously, she grew up way too fast. I don't know what happened there. I just took myself off the screen. All right, let me show you the incinerator burn cage. They call it an incinerator, guys. So whatever you want to call it, it's going to go back and forth. But there it is. This is from the house. Let me make myself smaller so you guys can take a look. That is the freaking burn cage. All right, this is burn cage, and then they call it incinerator, reportedly found at David's rented Hollywood home after teen's body discovered in trunk of Tesla. This was December 16th. It was like 15 days ago. And it says, guys, a burn cage incinerator that is advertised to burn at 1600 degrees was discovered at the Hollywood mansion that David was renting at the time the body of the girl, a teen girl, was found in the trunk of his Tesla, according to a private detective. The incinerator, which they call it again, which was still boxed and unused, was discovered inside the Doney Street residence by Steve Fisher, who was hired to comb through $20,000 a month pad by its owner. The private detective revealed that the disturbing discovery on the post on X on Tuesday describes it as something you would expect to find on a farm rather than a home in Hollywood Hills. And I'm going to throw in especially a rental home. All right. Burn cage incinerator that advertised to burn 1600 degrees was discovered, and that's it. All right. It was still boxed and unused. And there's the house right there. Okay. Someone will argue the item was intended as a prop for a video. If that were the case, it raises several questions. Why would a 55-pound burn cage be delivered to a private residence instead of directly to a prop designer or production house? All right. So there's that much different scene than Celeste being at her apartments at home, much more flashy. And then there you go. There's a picture of it, still boxed, and burn cage or incinerator, tomato. We don't know yet. I know that by definition, a burn cage is different than an incinerator, but that's the information that we have right now. That being said, guys, Happy New Year. We made it through another Guilty of Crime episode here about David to finally face charges for the death of Celeste Rivas. Will that happen? And is the love triangle what motivated David to do this to Celeste? Or does it go even deeper with just his sick thoughts and wanting to do that? Or was it both? We don't know. All right. What kind of, you guys are just having fun. And yeah, the chainsaw, we talked about that at the very beginning. Again, it was unused, but hey, Nay 2025, what's up? And Julie Bug, Happy New Year Day. Crime family, be safe. Don't drink and drive, y'all. If you're going to drink, stay home. All right. Happy New Year to everybody. That's the picture that posted on X, shows the box looking, thank you. David, open that sucker. Wow. All right, guys, y'all are having beautiful Happy New Year's conversations. And I just want to extend my love to you all. You guys be safe. And hopefully I'll catch y'all on the streets of YouTube later. I hoped he'd be arrested by tomorrow, but it's probably not going to happen until after the holidays, unless a really big piece of evidence comes down and hard. Stacey Michaels, Happy New Year. Saucy Skins and Uber is cheaper than a DUI. Bet. Luckily, I don't drink and I'm not going anywhere. And yes, we've absolutely heard from Deb. Nothing new there. Stefan's just making his way in the prison system, but nothing to speak of. Everyone be safe. I'm not sure when I'll be back. Probably the day after. I won't be here tomorrow. I doubt it. But we'll see. Happy New Year. I'll probably see you guys the day after. Love ya. And be safe, everybody. Until next time, I'm out of here. Love y'all. Peace.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?